Christian XC1 review covering Las Vegas and the world. We're here to talk about the quarterfinal round of the college football playoffs. I'm sure you watched the games this past weekend. Also, we're going to talk about a couple of bowl games. This is the last of the year with Lane Fobbs, Bearcat Bites, Bearkat Bites on X. Go down there to see everything about Sam Houston, of course, Sam Houston football and all the other college football coverage. Go over his feed on X. You just get so much useful information. College football, 365 days a year with Lane Fobbs. He joins us. Thanks, as always, for the weekly segment. Lane, how are you today?
Man, last round of 2025, I'm loving it. Don't be upset, national followers, that I'm wearing the Astros today. Something that I felt the need to wear it today. It's a little warmer across the country. We got short sleeves, so why not celebrate? But I'm ready to talk about some college football, some bowl games. You know what? I'm really disappointed about the Aggies. I don't know if we're going to review it, but that was a real letdown, a real letdown for a defense that was supposed to be very good. Whenever you have crazy Michael Irvin out there celebrating and doing all of this on your in storied Kyle Field, embarrassing. Yet another embarrassment in a long line of them for us as Aggies. Shout out to Miami. Got a lot of great friends down there in Coconut Grove and all those good places, Coral Gables and stuff. But they'll face Ohio State. We'll talk about that game. So here I am. With all that being said, for the last round of the year.
I have never spoken about this publicly, but you're going to get it right now, and the audience will. I don't talk much about my personal life and family life here, but here's the story. You ready? So my grandfather probably went to University of Miami football games since the 1950s or 40s. I can't remember. Anyways, long story short, he raised Gators. My mother and my uncle both went to the University of Florida, and her kids were Gators, which was me, my sister, and also my father's a Gator too. So that was his, son-in-law. So think about that. And I grew up in Miami. So I know all about, and I used to go with my grandfather because no one else wanted to go with him when I was a teenager. At the end, I went to all these University of Miami football games. Here's what I'm going to say to you in this regard, which is sad for me. You projected disappointment about TAMU last week in the last couple of weeks, and you got what you thought was going to happen. And that's unfortunately what happens when you are a graduate, a fan, alumni, and a loyalist of a university. You always think the worst, and unfortunately the worst happened. But here's my response to you in this regard. No way against Ohio State.
Yeah, no. Absolutely no chance. The celebration last week was about as far as that's going to go. Now they got some NFL guys there. They got Ruben Bain. They got I can't think of the other guy. I think his name starts with an I, but he was along the defensive line just terrorizing the A&M front. The quote blockers, the offensive line. But I just think Ohio State has way more. The weakness for Ohio State is going to be the kid saying, the quarterback. Now, it's his first year starting. It's not that some people say, oh, he's terrible, he stinks. It's his first full year. So you always have to take that into account. Now, he's got Carnell Tate. He's got Jeremiah Smith, who I think should have won the Heisman. I digress. But he's got a cast of guys around him. And with Caleb Downs on Arvell Reese on defense, I just think that they're just going to steamroll and break up the hurricane. They're going to be a gentle rain shower by the end of that game up in Dallas.
That was our definitive prediction, by the way, on Miami versus Ohio State for the college football playoff quarterfinal run. I didn't introduce it, but yes, absolutely. There's no way that Miami is going to beat Ohio State scoring 10 points.
No, not at all. And again, that game showed you that their defense has enough. Maybe they frustrate Ohio State, but at the end of the day, I would say at least 10 points. They're Ohio State
28-17 Ohio State at very least. 28-17 Ohio State, maybe worse than that.
Yeah, probably. I'll go 28-17. If I had to pick a score, I would probably go with that. The thing is, Carson Beck's not very good. You know what I mean? He's not a very good quarterback. Even in the win, he didn't do much. So, what's he going to do against a much more functional team?
Ohio State's also got the bye. So you get 2 weeks to prepare for those two teams as well. Let's move along. This is definitively easy, I think, just because Lane Kiffin's gone. Ole Miss beat Tulane. Fine. Georgia's had 2 weeks. Kirby's smart. College football playoff history. Guy knows how to win big games. It's at Georgia. I'm not a fan of Georgia much this year. Florida should have beat Georgia, in my opinion, earlier this year. But Ole Miss has just got a messy situation. So give the definitive extra bye week to Kirby Smart, knows how to win big SEC football games. It's at Georgia. Give me Georgia by a million.
Yeah, go ahead and give me Georgia solidly. Now, remember, Ole Miss was beating Georgia when they played, but they came back. I don't think that Gunnar Stockton and the offense of Georgia is going to make that mistake the second time around in New Orleans in the Sugar Bowl. I don't think that that's going to happen. And you said it the best. Kirby Smart knows how to win these SEC games, and it's an SEC town down in the boot. And so it's a traditional SEC bowl game. So I'm going to go with Kirby Smart. Ole Miss has been solid. Now, Pete Golding and these guys, there's been Braced and things like that. That maybe counts for a score, but go ahead and give me Georgia. And I've told y'all all year, I love Gunnar Stockton. Gunnar Stockton is the guy. And I need to look and see. I haven't done all of my offseason projections, who's coming back and all that stuff. But right now, it's got to be Gunnar Stockton and Lenore Sellers, best quarterbacks coming back in the SEC. But, that's a conversation for another day. Give me the Bulldogs. Give me Kirby Smart over Ole Miss.
Yeah, the reason I say this, though, is that, and this is how I look at this game, and you may look at it the same way, maybe not, but I think you will. To me, it's like a head coach playing a team with a fired head coach. And that's an advantage to the team who's got the head coach and has got the stability, no?
Yeah, and I was like, it definitely. And here's the thing about Kirby Smart, what makes him special. I don't think it gets talked about enough. Even in today's NIL, whether people transfer, Kirby Smart is the closest coach to having the energy of Nick Saban. The close. And I didn't say, some people say, well, Kirby Smart's had this happen, Saban wouldn't. No, I didn't say he was Saban. I said, given the times that college football is in, he's the closest to having the energy of Nick Saban. And that counts for something. That equals stability. That equals you're not going to make a ton of self-inflicted wounds, all those type of things.
I agree with you 100%. Next one, really fascinating game. Oregon allowed 34 points last week to James Madison, now have to go to Texas Tech. Here's what I'm just going to tell you in this regard. How are they going to beat Texas Tech after that game last week? I don't see it, no?
Oh, I do. I'm gonna zag where you zig here, Chris.
Really?
I am. I'm one of those Oregon believers. I just am. The thing about it is, Oregon has seen a tough Indiana team. They lost them, granted, but Texas Tech's just as tough and all those things. They got a nice defense, but what about the offense? Who's the quarterback? This game kind of reminds me of the A&M Miami game. Where it's, they got this great defense coming in. They didn't look good. Miami didn't look good leading into that game. They backdoored their way into the playoff, remember? Now Oregon didn't quite do that, obviously. And this isn't a home game for Texas Tech. It's going to be in the Orange Bowl in Miami. But, to me, that's what it is. And we're going to walk away saying, okay, next year, Texas Tech needs an offense. You know what I mean? So, helps on the way for the Red Raiders, but I think Oregon has this game. They got NFL guys on that roster. I think they're going to bring back Evan Stewart. They're getting healthier wide receiver. DeCorian Moore's there, stuff like that. So go ahead and give me the Ducks.
I just wonder, though, about that defense, though. 34 points against James Madison. That doesn't worry you?
A little bit. The other thing, too, is a desperate, not even desperate, just a empty the clip James Madison team. We're just, if you're the coach Bob Chesney there for the Dukes, you're thinking, okay, I'm leaving, going to UCLA anyway. We're just going to have some fun with this. We're not going to, if I say it like that, it sounds bad, but for lack of a better term, we're not going to take ourselves too seriously. You know what I mean? And to that, I think Texas Tech, they're going to approach it a little bit differently, and that kind of plays into Oregon's hands. I just really I like the Ducks in this one. I think that game also against James Madison served as a wake-up call. Like, okay, let's tighten this down, get serious. Okay, we really want to win this thing.
I think that could be the best or the second best game compared to the last one, Alabama, Indiana. I don't care what anyone says. This one's decided by 4 points or less. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. This is a close game.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one, man. You got to take swings. I'm going with Alabama. I'm going with Alabama.
I agree with you too.
I am, and people will keep going back to the Florida State game, but I'll see your Florida State game and raise you the Georgia win. I mean, there's something about them now. Granted, in the first game, the opening round, Oklahoma just ran out of gas. Jumped out to 17 points. That's pretty much it. But you can also say that the Alabama defense battened down the hatches and allowed their offense to kind of figure it out and kind of get the ball running and rolling, right? Ryan Willis for Alabama, the wide receiver. It's very disappointing. He leads, I think he's like almost at top. He's tops in the country and drop passes and all these things. If he's able to just kind of wake up, that's going to be another element for them. But, who knows if that happens this late in the playoff. The thing is, they've got some big bodies on defense. They've got more size than Indiana. Not quite the discipline, maybe, but, but they're a little deficient at quarterback with Ty Simpson. Now, it's kind of the opposite with Indiana, where they're just a great team across the board, but these are SEC bodies. It's going to be a fun game, like you said, in Pasadena, the Cathedral of college football. They might get the best game of the weekend, but it's going to be Roll Tide.
Yeah, I just tell you one thing that a lot of people may not be thinking about, and I'll continue to factor this in. Those Alabama players have more big games than those Indiana football players.
Exactly. And that is what it is. Now Indiana did beat Ohio State. They did. People will say, well, look at what they did. Well, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be a fun game. That's what's going to make it close. It's not going to be one of those Alabama games that you're used to in the 2010s with the foregone conclusion.
Here's my response to you in this regard. If it starts out that they get on the field and Alabama just runs up a score or two early and they're up big, I don't see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Alabama's the kind of team where they'll just knock you in the face in 10 seconds and you're not going to see it coming.
Yeah. But even if they're down, I think they could possibly come back. Indiana, don't really sleep on Indiana's offense. They got the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza, really, really good guy too. Really
how will you handle easily the biggest football game in probably 45 years, 50 years, 60 years in Indiana football history? How will you handle the biggest stage in, again, Texas Tech? That's probably the biggest game in Texas Tech football history, of course, minus Texas Tech in 2008, of course, as you know. There's no other game that was bigger than that prior to that. But you get my drift. How will you handle success? How will you handle success? And that's what I see with Tech and Indiana. It's like, how will you handle success, right?
Exactly. And Kalen DeBoer, you got a guy who's going against they're going against Kalen DeBoer, guy who OC at Indiana, by the way, once upon a time. Kirk Cignetti, the coach at Indiana, worked at Alabama. There's a whole thing with that. But before this, Kalen DeBoer was at Washington playing in the playoff, playing for a national title over Michigan right here in Houston, down southeast of us at NRG, where I am here. So, that kind of counts into something. This is easily Cignetti's biggest game. This is not Kalen DeBoer's biggest game because it's not the title game.
Quickly, Hawaii Bowl, Christmas Eve, California, Hawaii. A lot of scores. Give me the rainbows on the island. They'll have the refs on their side. No, I'm just kidding, but people always joke about that anyways. Go ahead.
Man, I'm going to, maybe JWS for Cal, the Bears, he's from Hawaii. Maybe he's got a couple of refs in his pockets. Maybe he knows somebody who went to school with that ref. His uncle know that ref. That's his friend. You never know.
Joking and good fun. All this is joking and good fun. This is not to be. Anybody watching this. This is this is not represented as inside information. But people always made the joke. I don't know if you know this. Growing up, people always made the joke that the mainland teams who go to the island that they have to play both Hawaii and they have to play the refs. They always would joke about that. That was a joke growing up. That was always a joke. If you were totally in like college football 2000s, early 2000s, people would always joke about that. That was just always saying, oh, it's hard to win on. There was a game years ago. I don't remember what the final outcome was, but Hawaii beat Michigan State in the last week of the year, and there was just a joke about how bad the refs were. There were like 5 or 6 calls. This was like the early 2000s, how they screwed Michigan State out of that game. There's always been a conspiracy theory about the refs on the island in Hawaii. Again, don't know if any of it's true. People could just make bad calls. It could be just Western Athletic Conference officials versus Big Ten officials and the expectations to have better. People always say that, by the way, about the ACC. I don't know if you know the history of the ACC, about how terrible the refs are in the ACC. That's still a thing to this day, that about how terrible those ACC crews are many times. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but that's another one. That's another one of the great college football foibles, whatevers. But point being told is that Hawaii is still, I think, the better team. They want to win this game, or they always want to win their bowl game. California didn't look very good the whole year. Give me Hawaii.
Man, yeah, I'll go ahead and say Hawaii, because Cal, some of those guys are leaving. There might be a couple opt-outs. Who really knows? Hawaii is going to be a little more dialed in, like you said. So I woke up this morning thinking about some of the, not woke up, but spent my morning thinking about some of these, and I was originally going to take Cal, but upon this brainstorm here that we're having, I'll go ahead and go with the Rainbow Warriors, who have had a great year under Timmy Chang. Incredible.
He used to be a great quarterback, and now he's a great coach, in my opinion. What he's been able to do there with basically nothing. Again, you can recruit. You can recruit the background, the sun, the scenery, but there ain't much more to recruit after that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, that's basically it. And some of the longest flights, obviously, in college football for any team, obviously. Lane Fobbs, thank you so much, as always, for joining us this week. College football round 2 predictions. Where can they find you, as always?
You can find me right there, Bearcat Bites, the Bearcat Bites newsletter, Twitter, all of that stuff on the Substack. The links are all there when you go to my Twitter. We're the only independent media covering Sam Houston football year round, and we're going to do it well into 2026 and beyond. The X is in the description. The link to his X is in the description below of this YouTube video, as always, like it is every other video. Lane Fobbs, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy I don't have to work on Christmas. Woo! For all of you out there. Happy I just want to be by myself day. Happy I don't want to spend time with my family, but I get an off day. Happy I'm not celebrating anything, but I get an off day from work, as I was saying to everybody yesterday. All those kinds of things. Enjoy yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you as always for watching us. And we'll see you back in the new year for the semifinal round of the college football playoffs, obviously. Thank you, Lane.